Hello, and welcome to Sink or Swim, a bi-weekly podcast brought to you by Rentsync, where we provide an insider's look into the prop tech, multifamily, and rental housing industry. In each episode, we take a deep dive into the technologies and strategies that have helped companies overcome operational challenges and increase the value of their multifamily investments. So, without further delay, let's get into today's discussion.
Welcome to episode 1 of Sink or Swim with me, your host, Mitch Fanning, VP of Marketing of Rentsync, formerly LWS. And this episode is a special one because joining me today are 4 of my colleagues who make up most of the leadership team here at Rentsync, being Jason Leonard, co-founder and president, David Koski, co-founder and VP of Services, Mike Mottola, co-founder of and VP of Product and Technology, and of course, Max Steinman, VP of Sales, Sales Extraordinaire, and a big part of this success. He's been here a long time. He's basically part of the furniture at this point. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Glad
Thanks
to be
for having
here.
us, Mitch.
Very well. Thanks for having us.
So before we kick this off, I also want to give a quick shout out to Linda Hardiker, who is just joined us as VP of Finance, and she's been doing really great. So Linda, if you're listening, quick shout out to you and thank you for joining the team. And once again, we all love you. So I've been looking forward to today's episode because, as we all know, the company just celebrated its 10-year anniversary as far as being in business. So first, congrats, guys.
Thanks.
And we also just went through a rebrand. So I'd like to begin really with an obvious question, and it's, how did this all begin and why? And Jason, I'll let you start.
Sure, thanks. I mean, really, it goes back to before 2010, before the business was even started. I was already involved in a listing site called Gotta Rent back in 2005 through 2009. And I saw how difficult it was for listing sites to operate in the industry as far as working with clients, keeping information up to date, all of that kind of stuff. Between Gotta Rent and building LWS, spent some time with Reed in Canada and saw the other side of the business and realized that there was definitely some challenges that both sides of the industry were facing, and there was an opportunity to sort of bridge those gaps. So while at the REIT, I actually met Dave. He was working on a project as a contractor for the company, and turned out that we actually lived in the same town, which was more than, about an hour and 20 minutes away from where we actually met. So it was kind of interesting that we were, from the same area and actually only about 2 blocks apart. And we decided to get together and connect over coffee, and the rest is kind of history.
You guys met at the Starbucks, and kind of walk us through that kind of first conversation at Starbucks. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah, that meeting was the thing that sticks out in my mind the most is that I've asked him to meet for a coffee, and here he walks in with this baby carrier in his hand, and he's got his 1-month-old daughter with him. So yeah, it was kind of interesting.
That was kind of the first employee, Dave?
Yeah, it was. It's quite the opportunity, what Jason was proposing. I've been working on projects as a sole proprietor, doing websites for clients of any industry. And Jason had this idea of let's target landlords and build websites for them. So it was a neat opportunity, and now that I look back, I'm glad I took it.
Now, of course, you guys started with web design, but as you started doing the work for clients, you realized very soon that the CMSs that were out there at the time were not purpose built, and kind of enters Michael Mottola. So he came on, a technical co-founder, started to build out that CMS, which was at the time, and just was before July 2nd, the lift system. So Mike, you came on the scene, kind of, walk me through those first couple months, even first year.
Sure. I mean, there's actually a cool origin story too with how I got involved as well. I think Dave and Jason kind of realized what they were about to endeavor, and they were like, oh man, we need a programmer. This is a big thing.
Very true.
A big operation that we're getting involved in. So my mother was working with a company that Dave was doing business with. And I think at some point, Dave was like, oh, we need a programmer. And my mom was like, my son's a programmer. And so that's kind of how I got involved here. We reached out and we met at Williams and started talking about the business. And that's how I got involved with Dave and Jason. And that's how LWS really got started. So yeah, the first couple months, just building up that CMS, as you said, is Lyft. That was a pretty exciting time for me. I was working at a development company prior to this and wanted to take the next step in my career and jump to building a business, something I've always wanted to do prior. So I welcomed the opportunity and started building this framework and the product. And it was really exciting for me to start off.
Now we're doing well. There was some traction there, but obviously it didn't really start to take off until you guys started to bring in that ad syndication piece. And of course, Max came on the scene at that point and started to ramp up, business. So Max, kind of walk me through when you first, came here. You had come here from, you started in another startup, did well, you came here, you saw the opportunity. Kind of walk me through, from your perspective, what that first year, couple of years looked like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's sort of happenstance as to how everybody gets to where they're at. And for me, I had driven down from Toronto and was kind of looking for my next endeavor and, just to this small little office in Thorold, Ontario at the time, and sat down with Mike and just did a quick demo of what the platform was at the time. And, the component of the platform that had so much upside was Rentsync, which is now our company name, obviously. But Rentsync was really our ad syndication tool. And I remember thinking, this is a really small company, 4 or 5 people. It's not where I live, but this seems pretty special. This tool that could really help automate a lot of the companies in this space, their marketing and advertising efforts. And so through that, sort of built out a sales plan to really bring it to market and started to see traction relatively quickly. And it was always a product or service that really filled in a true void that was there, a gap in the market. And, I don't want to call myself a salesperson extraordinaire because that service itself was easy to sell. And the concept was easy to sell because it was so in demand. And so that's what really drove a lot of our growth in my first couple of years, which was, 2014, 2015.
Yeah. I mean, they always say that if a market is sucking the product out, it's a lot easier, of course, and obviously, there was some traction that was gained there, but, as a follow-up, when you had to, if you had to kind of start all over again, what's one thing now that you wished you knew when you started out? And so, David, I'll let you start off on this one, and then we'll go round robin again.
That's a good question. I think we did it in the right way. I think we would have probably got some initial capital to grow the team quicker. We grew responsibly at the beginning, starting out slowly with websites and building our CMS system to the demand of the client, and slowly kept adding additional services and features to the product that they needed that would help them manage their website and their advertising. But I think bringing in Rentsync a little sooner would have been nice. But I think it was a good slow progression into what clients needed. Websites at the time were terrible. Nothing was mobile friendly. So this was when, CSS and media queries just came out, and the whole idea of responsive websites was something fairly new. So I think we've done well.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hindsight, right? And we still are going through that. I mean, even today, yesterday we had a management meeting and it was like, we should have done things that we should have done like 3 to 6 months ago. I think it's always a challenge. Mike, what were your thoughts in terms of, what were some lessons learned from your side?
There's been so many. I was so young at the time. I was like 22 when this thing started. So just, the pressure of growing a business and the toll that it takes on yourself, and just, some of the financial knowledge I didn't really have enough of when I first started, and just the kind of just grasping the whole big picture of where this thing was going to go. I think I was a little naive at the time, just how big this was going to get.
So Max, I'll pass the baton off to you. What were some of your lessons or things that you wish you knew then that you know now?
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges in scaling the company, particularly from the sales and marketing side, is having the right metrics in place and having a system in place behind the scenes that can allow you to scale easily. And we didn't even know when I got here in 2014, we didn't even know how to price the services and products that we were offering. And so it was a bit of a guessing game. And we never really sat down in those first couple of years and said, this is a model that would make sense for us, will allow us to scale correctly and hire correctly and build the team to support the service and develop the service to that next level. And, we were always just shooting from the hip, trying to keep up, which is really common in a small entrepreneurial firm. And it wasn't probably until about 2 or 3 years ago that we really started to conceptualize those KPIs for the business, but also the units of scale and all the metrics that we needed to in order to really plan for the future. And so my advice, I guess, to our former selves would be to have thought about that stuff earlier and start to collect the data that we need earlier. Because once you kind of create that rat's nest of data, it's difficult to untangle, and it's a big endeavor to do so.
Oh, for sure. Jason, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think these guys have really covered a lot of the key things that you can speak to. But, just going back on Dave's original point around, funding, I think, when you're right there on day one, that's the one piece that you really need to be honest about with yourself in terms of what it's going to take to build a business of this kind of magnitude. I mean, if we were just building a website development business and we were going to be, a 6, 8, 10-man team into the long term, we probably would have, the money that we had raised initially probably would have been enough to carry us to build the kind of business that would have resulted in. But the kind of business that I think we always envisioned and ultimately ended up creating took an awful lot more capital than what we originally thought. And maybe that's just the entrepreneur in me, or in us, I guess, that, you tend to fool yourselves a little bit in terms of what you think it's going to take, and that you can get there on like these small amounts. And it really isn't the case. I mean, you do have to think about, what staffing costs, and you have to be honest about how long it's going to take to ramp your business up. It doesn't happen nearly as fast as you think it will. A thing that I like to, often remind myself and these guys is that, you want it to be difficult. You want it to be tough, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So, so at the end of the day, I would just say be more honest with yourself about what it's going to cost to get the business really up and running and where you need to go.
No, for sure. And I mean, when you compare Rentsync to some other businesses, the capital it took, we did bootstrap for the most part. And, it is hard. Obviously, you guys know it more than anyone. However, on the flip side, what are some notable milestones or even kind of some interesting stories that you guys can share that you guys had along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just some of the milestones that I always keep in mind and remind our sales team of is that the evolution of this company has been, it parallels the evolution of the industry in North America and in Canada. And there's been times when we've gone after or approached companies that we thought we had a great solution for, and they didn't sign on for whatever reason. And there's been sales journeys with clients that have been 3-4 years in the making. And a lot of those companies' decisions comes down to these fine, small details on how a product or service like the ones we offer sort of work into their day-to-day. And, there's been a lot of rewarding milestones and moments over the last 3-4 years where, the chase of a company or new client, eventually they do come on because we've added that right component over time and never gave up. And it's not that we were specifically trying to build something for them, but just taking that feedback and incorporating it into our system, along with all of our other clients' feedbacks, has allowed us to have these big wins, big moments within the company, within our timeline, where we've signed some of the biggest companies in Canada. We've worked with some huge companies in the US now. And, every time we win a client like that, it's satisfying because it feels like we've evolved to that next step where we can take on a more sophisticated client. So I don't know if that's a specific example because I don't want to name any specific clients, but
sure,
that's sort of how I've thought about that.
Bringing in those big accounts has kind of accumulated to, or even maybe come to the point where, last year we were number 94 on the Growth 500 list top 100 of fastest growing companies in Canada. So it's kind of been because of, your efforts and the sales team efforts and even, everyone's efforts obviously, combined, but to get us to that point where we've actually hit some of those milestones like the Growth 500. Jason, what are your thoughts around milestones or interesting or funny stories that you can recall?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think launching Rentsync was probably the biggest milestone because it was a game changer for the business. It was the moment when we weren't just a one-dimensional website development company, and now we had this data syndication product. So I think that was really a pivotal moment for us, and it brought us into alignment with a lot of the listing sites and other products in the industry. So that one stands out probably the most for me, but I think there's a few others. Winning the Niagara Entrepreneur of the Year award in about 2017, I think was a pretty big one as well. I mean, we don't really focus too much on, local politics or those kind of things. They don't define us, but I do remember that moment when they called out our name and we had won. It was a pretty surreal moment. And you kind of realize, wow, this is actually kind of cool. The other would be probably right around the same time, was about the last time we actually took investment from investors or needed any outside capital. So we've been running purely off cash flow for the last 3+ years now. And to me, I think that's absolutely huge. That's a big milestone.
Oh, for sure. David, anything to add to that?
I think another milestone in the company was moving from doing strictly custom websites to building more themed express websites, as we're calling them, that really allowed us to scale quickly. Previously, when we originally started the company, everything was custom built websites, but we found that it didn't always fit the client's needs and situation financially. So we came up with this idea of these kind of pre-built templated systems that allow them to use all the functionality of the lift system, all the capabilities that the custom sites had, but in a quick build, low cost upfront solution that worked really well for them. And it's allowed us to scale quickly in Canada and the US.
Oh, for sure. Mike?
I think these guys covered a lot of the great milestones we've had. If I can just throw like an accomplishment in the mix here, we built a tech company in Niagara. I mean, that alone to me is a huge accomplishment. We've created a lot of opportunities for people in this area to have jobs. I mean, especially in the computer science field and technology. I went to school and, thought when I graduate, the only jobs I'm going to have is in Toronto. But we created an opportunity we have a dev team of about 20 people. We created that opportunity for people to continue their life in Niagara, which is a great place to live. And it can be a great place to work as well. And we're not the only tech company in Niagara, but we're certainly one of the bigger in terms of the amount of development team. So that's just a huge accomplishment for us that we were able to build this in Niagara, this place that we all live in and love living in. And now we can all have great jobs and opportunities in Niagara. So I think that's just a huge accomplishment for us.
Oh, for sure. And to give context for those who are listening who maybe aren't familiar with Niagara, first of all, I pride in being, living here because it's kind of wine country. So basically, I tell people I live in wine country. And yeah, it's not a big community, but it has grown. I would say that we are the biggest tech company. Now, Max, you have an office. We have our second office in Toronto, and kind of you head up that office. And that's also growing as well. But for sure, building a tech company in a community that's not really known for tech and really being able to basically, start out that footprint and really grow, I think that's a huge accomplishment. I mean, I think also kind of just piggybacking on what I said on the Growth 500, we are now 51 employees and we onboarded 9 in the last 2 months during essentially a pandemic. And I think that was huge. And we did that all remotely as well.
And Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've actually attracted talent from Toronto to Niagara, people who are trying to move back, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm noticing that as well. And even on the team, on some of the people that I brought on my team as well, they're kind of making that choice to come from a bigger city. So it's good to see. So, this anniversary is also, unique because we've decided to rebrand from LWS to Rentsync. What does the new Rentsync brand mean to you guys? And how, from your point of view, does it redefine what the company now stands for?
I think what it kind of symbolizes for me is that we started this very entrepreneurial firm. I didn't start it, but, Jason, Mike, and Dave did. And when I got involved in 2014, it was still a company trying to find itself. And we were just doing what we could to get traction, trying to solve a lot of different problems that property management companies and landlords had, primarily in Canada. And we were moving quickly and we were extremely flexible, and that was one of our advantages. We didn't really focus on brand or anything like that, but it was just find a solution. Actually, the name, our former name, Landlord Web Solutions, really represented what we were in that sense. It was find a solution. That was really what we were, problem solvers. And, over time, we've found that direction. It's taken a long time, and there's always new things that pop up, and we have to remain flexible and agile. But we found that direction, and now it's a little bit more about putting it all together into one succinct platform, which we're doing, and so it goes right in line with creating unified single brand for the company, and it's sort of now time to execute on the years of pathfinding that we've done. And so that's what it represents to me. And also just from a sales standpoint, I can say there's a lot of companies out there that were calling us a lot of different names. We got Landlord Web Solutions every now and then. We got LWS, we've got Lift, we've got Rentsync. A lot of people just call us Rentsync. Landlord Solutions, Web Solutions, Landlord Web. There's probably quite a few that I'm not even thinking of. We even had a brand called Secured Forms. And so it was just too many brands and make things less confusing for the market as well. So,
well, it's interesting. Before I kind of pass it on to Jason, usually when a company goes through a rebrand, there's a bit of an internal debate. And one thing I noticed was even externally, I even spoke to a new partner coming on board, and they're like, "Oh, well, we knew you guys as Rentsync anyways." And even with the board, I remember we were having that conversation. It was just like, "Yeah, it's a good idea." It wasn't. I think we all saw the company as Rentsync. I'm just glad we don't have to type those long emails out anymore. That's why I think this is really meaningful for me. Jason, what are your thoughts around this?
You literally just took the words right out of my mouth. I've been enjoying rentsync.com as a shorter email address. So I can't even begin to tell you how many times I misspelled Landlord Web Solutions. Somewhere there was a typo. So yeah, it's good that I don't have to do that anymore. Beyond that, I think Rentsync, it always kind of felt like the core of the company anyway. So it just really made sense that it was the name that we chose. When we were talking about doing a rebrand, it didn't even take us that long to settle upon this. We were talking about, what do we do? What's the name we want to go with? And, it was this sort of aha moment where we realized the right thing to do was always there to begin with. The name was right under our nose the whole time. So yeah, it was actually a very easy decision, and I'm happy we made it, and looking forward to what, the next 10 years brings.
So Mike, you were really there. You kind of are the architect of Rentsync, the ad syndication product in our product suite. So this is obviously probably a little bit special for you, the fact that it's now Rentsync. The name is coming to the forefront. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. This is about the transformation and the next evolution of the company. We've grown a lot, and we're going to continue to grow and evolve. And I think we're just becoming more mature. We're coming to an adult phase of our company, and it's time to rebrand ourselves. And I think we all just agreed that this was the right thing to do. There was no doubt about it. So I'm happy and looking forward to it. I think everyone before me kind of highlighted the right points, and I strongly believe those as well. And yeah, I'm excited.
I'm also just excited we got the domain, rentsync.com.
Yes,
So Dave, any final thoughts around the rebrand and kind of what this means to you and what this looks like as far as a redefining of the company moving forward?
I think Max said it well. It seems like there's a lot of confusion with our clients between the different brands that we have, Landlord Web Solutions and Rentsync and Secured Forms and Lift. It's just nice to bring it all together under one name, get rid of all that confusion. At the beginning, Landlord Web Solutions was exactly what we did as a company. It made sense for landlords. They could easily understand it, but now I think it's time to transition to a better name.
No, absolutely. So Positioning the company as Rentsync, though, I mean, it's just the beginning, as we all know. Mike, without giving too much away, can you give the audience just a hint as to what's next on the product roadmap?
Sure. Putting me on the spot, I guess. Well, better technology. Absolutely. Greater control, better automation, and just a better experience all around. Better experience with our customer success team, better experience with our product, just a better experience with dealing with our company and our product and our solutions that we offer.
Excellent. So as I've already mentioned, we've expanded rapidly, over 50 employees, which hasn't been easy. Even in the last year that I've been here, and I'm sure over the last 10, there's been a ton of challenges. So, let's talk about it. Like, what do you feel we've done well, even in the last couple of years, growing that fast? And, where do you think we could improve, or we could have improved, during that phase? Jason, this is the tough question. I'll let you start with it.
Well, I actually remember some of the very first interviews we used to do. Mike and Dave and I, our desks were all beside each other in our little Thorold office, and we would just turn our chairs around and put the interviewee on the spot. and honestly, we were more thrilled if somebody was willing to take a job with us than anything. So we actually probably spent more time trying to convince people to work for us than the other way around. So I think it's, we've come a long way, obviously, from those days. We're at a point now where, we choose very, very carefully. We're looking for quality over, quantity. It's about picking the right people that will take us, to the next level of where we want to go. And, it hasn't been easy. I mean, it is an interesting challenge trying to scale your staff. One of the interesting things that we've noted here is that, we always keep expanding our office and thinking it's going to last 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, the amount of space that we take out. And then within 12, 18 months, we're suddenly expanding again. Again, these are all good problems to have, and I'm certainly not complaining. It's just one of those challenges that, you have to deal with, and it's been fun to, tackle these things.
Absolutely. So Mike, your team specifically has grown. Obviously, we've essentially doubled down on R&D over the last couple of years. And, kind of walk me through your kind of transformation as kind of an individual contributor to, essentially a manager and a leader at the same time, just over a short period of time. What's been some of your challenges that you've gone through?
Sure. Well, yeah, I started off as a developer, sole proprietor developer, working on our code base, and that's evolved, and we've grown our team quite extensively, especially in the last 2 years. Like you said, it's been definitely a challenge making that shift. It's a different skill set, it's a different mindset being a leader than being a developer, and sometimes two very different skill sets and mental processes. So just shifting and evolving that mindset, more high level strategic thinking than implementing. I still have that solutions mindset where I want to just jump into solutions, but I have a team of people that are amazing and talented that can come up with the best solutions and implement those solutions. So just taking a step back a little bit and letting the team figure out the solutions to the problems that we identify. So that is the biggest cultural shift kind of with stepping into the leadership role versus a developer role. And that takes some time to get used to. Giving up control, if you will, is not easy for everyone. And, it takes time and discipline to do that. So that's been a big challenge. I think in terms of things that we've done really well is building a great culture and hiring the right people, as Jason mentioned, but just trying to maintain that culture over the course of these years. You go from this startup company where everything's loosey-goosey and everything, and you move into a 51 plus company, you need better policies and standards and protocols without trying to be this corporate vibe. And we have to walk that line of what's right. So, there's some improvement we can do there as well. But overall, we've built a really great culture. Our people like to work in the office with everybody. Everyone gets along. So, I'm proud of that team that we've put together and the culture we've built. And you can't force culture. You can't just put up a poster saying, this is our culture, guys. You have to live it. And we've done that. I think from the earliest of days, we've done a good job of reinforcing that culture that we've always wanted to be a part of. And now the next challenge is just keeping that culture as we grow and as we get to 50, 70 employees.
No, absolutely. There's not too many places that I know of that people want to spend their Friday night at the office watching movies together. And that's just one thing. And then that doesn't define a good culture, but that's just one thing that, I noticed here that is just unique that I haven't really seen a lot before. Dave, what are your thoughts around, things that we've done well, things that we haven't done well, fast moving, breaking things? What are your thoughts?
I think at the beginning with a small team, we're all kind of forced to wear multiple hats, kind of be the jack of all trades, doing design and project management. And there was times I was doing accounting and some coding. But, as you start to grow, you bring in those specialty roles that are dedicated to do these positions. And it really helped us grow over time.
I'm really glad you're not doing the accounting anymore. No offense, Dave. No offense, Dave. I love you, but I'm glad Linda's taking that on. Max, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, I think it has to do with spreading knowledge and having a knowledge-based sales approach with our clients. The product we're building is based off the feedback and the demand from the market. And, far too often, because we're buyers ourselves of lots of SaaS products and lots of software. I think as a company, we actually use over 20 different softwares to keep ourselves rolling from an operational standpoint. And we go through sales experiences constantly, evaluating our own tech stack internally. And one thing that we always see out there is sort of this approach where an account executive who doesn't really know that much about the product or the technical details or the problem that they're trying to solve. They're just, a point of communication and a caller. We'll start that conversation. Then you kind of get led into your technical demo and it feels really, discontinuous. And, one thing that I've really learned is that we have to always spread the knowledge throughout our own organization. And we have to continue to get better at that, but really understand our customers. Every single salesperson in our office understand the business problems that the customers are having. Every single nuance of their business has to be understood. The software they use has to be understood. And that has to be spread throughout our whole organization, back to the marketing team, back to our customer service team. And it's something that we're being pretty good at and need to continue to excel at and get better at as the company scales and grows.
Oh, for sure. And, full disclaimer, I'm the reason why the tech stack went up about 25% this year. So it's all about, getting more efficient and getting those metrics like we spoke about. So guys, what's next for Rentsync? Mike, what are your thoughts on that? What's next? Where are we going with all this?
Well, it's a redefining of the market and ourselves in it, with building better product, building up a true platform to offer our customers just a better experience all around in terms of how our customers interact with our software, our service. We're rebuilding various teams in our organization and really prepping for growth and really starting to focus on the market problems and just flushing out those solutions for our customers.
Jason, what's next?
Yeah, I think it's mostly just what Mike said. I mean, just creating an all-around better experience for our clients. We've done a lot of research. Well, we've done research the entire 10 years, but we've done an extra amount of research in the last, 12, 18 months, especially since you've been on board. And that's, helping us shape where the product is going. And we're making some serious enhancements to the platform. And I think our clients are going to be, they're going to be duly surprised and excited by what we, have coming up here in the very near future.
Max, anything to add to that?
I think it's just to basically firm up our platform as the de facto choice for a lead generation tool, as well as your marketing automation if you're in the property management space in North America. Firming that up, and then obviously we're not going to stop. We want to continue to move the platform in the direction of additional automation, additional data, and also decision-making tools eventually for property management companies, where they get good enough feedback out of our system that they can make managerial decisions.
No, absolutely. Positioning Rentsync as the de facto marketing platform for multifamily is definitely something that, I'm very, obviously interested in ensuring that happens. Dave, any final thoughts there?
Yeah, I think what we're looking to do is make Rentsync the central hub for everything, for your websites, for your marketing, online advertising, bringing the leads in, making those decisions easier to make based on all the data and facts that we're bringing in. Just make it a seamless, user-friendly environment.
Absolutely.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
Okay, so I'd like to switch gears here and move in to what I would call a rapid fire segment. So I'll say a statement and you'll have about 30 to 60 seconds to answer. I'll kind of do the round robin thing again. Are you guys ready?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, here we go. So Jason, what's one thing you wish your phone could do?
I'm going to go with better video editing.
Better video editing. Okay.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Well, I mean, I like putting little videos together, especially of my 8-year-old daughter. And I played around with the built-in video editing tool, and it's okay, but I think it could be a lot better and there's more improvements that could be made there for sure.
Mike, what's one thing you wish your phone could do?
Honestly, I don't know, man. I want my phone to do less. It does everything. I mean, I don't need it to do everything, and I don't need it to do anything else than it does right now, to be honest. Okay, Dave.
I wish my phone could connect with Rentsync and Lyft.
Well, Mike, can you? So okay,
it's coming. It's coming.
I think we're going there.
Max, same question.
Never run out of battery. Just innovation to batteries that never runs out.
All right, that's a good answer. I support that one.
All right. So next question, your favorite tool or app and why? Max, I'll start with you.
We use a tool on the sales team. It's called Boomerang. It's a simple Gmail extension, and it's really simple little tool, but it allows you to send emails late at night and have them scheduled to deliver at a normal working hour. And it also reminds you to do follow-ups and such that you never really miss follow-up opportunity. There's a free version, but we use the paid version.
So for those of you who are our clients who are listening or prospects, Max does not get up at 3 a.m. He's just sending those emails out to really impress you. So obviously now he's using Boomerang.
It's the other way around. I'm sending them at 3 a.m. and I don't want anyone to know that I'm that invested. So they're getting delivered at 8:55.
Exactly. Dave, same question. Your favorite app or tool and why?
I think I'd say Slack. Just being able to stay in constant communication with the team, aware of any issues that are happening. I'm always getting that alert. So I think just that constant communication is nice.
We just need a rule to limit the amount of channels that are created at any given time. Mike, favorite app or tool?
Rentsync.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the techie answer of the Unix command line, because it's super useful. I still use it every day in my job, and it's invaluable to have a command line experience and expertise.
Okay, that was a developer's answer for you. So Jason, same question.
Does it have to be a business application, or
no? It could be a personal. It doesn't have to be business.
I mean, so I'll answer both. On the fun side, right now, I've been into MLB Tap Baseball, which has kept me sane during the whole COVID period here. It's been a lot of fun. It's actually a pretty good game. But as far as like a business app, I actually enjoy using Google Sheets and Google Drive in general, Docs, I should say. Being able to work through documents right on my phone. That's probably my go-to.
All right. So last question. What have you changed your mind about lately, or maybe over the last 10 years, or what has surprised you? Max, I'll start with you again.
Something I've changed my mind over is, this might be an unpopular answer, taxes. I pay a lot of taxes, but I see the value that we get, as particularly here in Canada, for the taxes we pay. We have really good services, and when you go through a pandemic and the world seemingly is burning, I think Canada has done a fantastic job navigating the waters so far, and And it's because we have some really good social nets in place and good systems in place that protect our people.
What do you believe that others might disbelieve? So, David, I'll start with you.
I haven't answered yet. Go to somebody else.
Okay. Mike, you're on the hot seat.
I'm on the hot seat. This is a weird one. That certain foods should only be eaten during certain times of the day. For example, grilled cheese is a lunch food. Unless you're a child, you shouldn't be eating that past midnight. Unless you're on vacation, all rules go out the window with vacation. I was a place in Jamaica that had a grilled cheese bar at night. We hit that up every day. Hot dogs, only a lunch food, unless it's on a barbecue accompanied with something else. Then it can be eaten for dinner. I have a whole list of rules of foods that are only edible for lunch and only edible for dinner. So that's something that people might not be on the same page as me, because I tell people some things and they think I'm crazy. So, but I have a strict rule set of foods that can only be eaten at certain times of the day or certain meals of the day.
All right. So note to self, do not invite Michael over for dinner and serve him grilled cheese. Okay.
Correct.
Jason, one thing you believe that others might disbelieve.
Come back to me on this one.
Okay. Max.
I want to know what happens to you, Mike, if you consume one of these foods at the wrong time of day. That's what I want to know.
I ate grilled cheese for dinner once, like a few weeks ago, and I was telling people in the office about it. I was like, it was weird. It was weird, but I had to break the rule. I just.
But nothing horrible happened in your life.
No, nothing.
It still will, though. Something will. Something
might. Yeah.
So Max, what you believe that others disbelieve is that he can actually eat a grilled cheese at night and nothing will happen. Okay.
No, what I believe that maybe others disbelieve, maybe they believe more. I've been saying for years that I thought that there'd be a transformation of office space to residential in North America. And, there's been a project here, a project there, but I truly believe in the next 10 years, there will be a huge transformation. And COVID is like given the world this test of how remote work can be for so many offices, for so many businesses. And so I believe that we will see mass transformation from office space to residential in the next 10 years.
Now, I've had this discussion with some people that say that golf is not a sport. They said it's a competition, not a sport. And I disagree with that. It takes a lot of physical skill and precision and athletic ability to do it well.
And mental
competition against other people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And mental strength, because I think a lot of sports are a lot of a mental, and golf definitely takes some mental strength. If you mess up a shot, you got to stay strong and collect yourself and make that next shot the best shot you can make. So,
exactly.
I don't know. I just lose a lot of balls when I play. So that's all I know. Jason, back to you. You're on the hot seat.
Yeah, no, I'm going to pass on this question.
Okay. All right. So last question, your go-to order takeout at your favorite restaurant in your hometown.
All right, I'll lead off with this one.
Okay.
I go for the same thing every time, butter chicken at the Touch of India in St. Catharines. Fantastic, just fantastic dish. I try butter chicken at various Indian restaurants in major cities all over North America whenever I get a chance, and I have yet to find a better butter chicken. So I've been going to this place for years and years and years and just love it.
By the way, if you're listening, Touch of India, we will be asking you for a sponsorship. So, Michael, favorite place to eat?
Honorable mention first is just buffalo chicken sandwich. No matter where I go, dine-in especially, just buffalo chicken sandwich. But my real go-to takeout is from Frijoles, which is around the corner from my house, in walking distance. Fish burrito with the taco bag on the side. Best burrito you will ever eat. No other burrito place can top that. And the taco bag is just the most ingenious side dish ever. So go for Frijoles.
David?
I'd say I have two. There's a little donut shop down on Victoria Street that serves wonton soup. Fantastic.
Yes.
And another one would be pho. We're at Pho Ying around the corner, little raw beef pho soup and Shanghai noodles.
So a donut shop that serves wonton soup.
You'd be surprised.
This is sketchy. I don't know.
It is. No, it's renowned for having the best wonton soup ever. It is the best.
But horrible donuts. They have horrible donuts. Max, what about you?
In Toronto, I grew up at sort of the Yonge and Lawrence, York Mills area. And there is a very famous neighborhood submarine place called Belly Busters that just every kid grew up eating Belly Busters late at night in high school, lunch at high school, and they got a sub called the Bacon Combo. Bacon Combo, sometimes the turkey bacon, or the Belly Buster itself. Yeah, fantastic sub. And you can eat it any time of day, Mike. That's the best part.
Awesome. Well, sandwiches, yes. There's no exception for sandwiches except for grilled cheese. That's the only one that's a sandwich you can't eat anywhere else. But a sub or sandwich, any day, anytime.
Well, it's been great having you guys on the show today for our first episode.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mitch.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in.
You've reached the end of another episode of Sink or Swim. Make sure to visit us at rentsync.com/podcast to access show notes, key takeaways, and where you can sign up to our newsletter to receive free bonus content. If you found value in this show, please also remember to rate, review, and subscribe. That's this week's episode of Sink or Swim. Don't forget to join us next time for another jam-packed episode. Thanks for listening.